Well, all right, let's bring in Sreeram Chaulia now, professor at the Jindal School of International Affairs in Delhi. Thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on RT International today. I know you've been following the breaking news here, Sreeram. The hours of breaking news, the attempted, what they're calling a failed military coup. But what must be mentioned is the huge support for the Turkish president, Erdogan. We're still seeing thousands of people outside the parliament building showing their support for the Turkish president. Are you thinking now that it's calming down, or perhaps it's actually just getting started to go back up again?
Well, for starters, we thought that the civil-military relationship had been completely altered in favor of the civilians by President Erdogan, and that the military had been depoliticized and that it had gone back to the barracks and was only performing national security and defense functions instead of dreaming of usurping power. But it's sad to see that such a large faction within the military decided to rebel. But you are right that the population at large has come out in support of the democratically elected government, and it should be so, because since 2002, no matter what the drawbacks and the flaws of President Erdogan and his AKP party, one thing they have done is to create the sense that there is at least a kind of a democratic government where the will of the majority must be respected. It's another thing about whether it is liberal or not, but it is democratic. He won the last election with 52%, and at the end of the day, the people have seen 4 coups in Turkey since the 1960s, and they don't want to go back to that dark period. So no matter how quote-unquote authoritarian Erdogan is, at the end of the day, people realize that the military dictatorship is the worst, most option, and therefore I think people came out and prevented this coup from succeeding. So we must congratulate the Turkish people for showing a degree of unity and maturity. No matter what the political differences are, it's good to hear that even the opposition parties rallied onto the streets in Istanbul and Ankara to stop the coup protests.
But Sreeram, you talk about the rule of democracy, the rule of law, the will of the majority, and tip your hat to the people of Turkey for supporting their democratic elected government. Fair enough. That's fair enough. But as we know, Turkish journalists who have argued against Erdogan, who have, in Erdogan's words, insulted him, they go to prison. Erdogan has been accused of a media witch hunt for quite some time. Is it possible now that Erdogan might even reconsider his policies in the wake of this coup? Do you think he should actually allow further freedom and democracy, the voice of the masses, or will he actually tighten the screws and bear down on them?
Well, knowing him, he is a centralizer and believes in a personalized kind of rule. So I think he will be pretty revengeful. He will want to actually cleanse the military even further. And already we are hearing that more than 750 troops, 5 generals, 29 colonels have been arrested. So there's going to be an attempt to purge the military once again. And already there have been 2 big cases in the past, in recent past, the Ergenekon case and the sledgehammer case. In both cases, top generals were retired or put into jail, and I think that will go on. There will be a witch hunt.
Yes, it's going on as we speak. I'm sorry, I do apologise for jumping in. As we speak, reports from Turkey saying 29 colonels and 5 generals have been removed from their military posts. So in effect, the purge of the military, it's already underway.
It's underway. But as far as the media and the civil liberties and all those things go, yes, I mean, the space has shrunk in Turkey, and the divisive politics Erdogan has played has actually worsened the situation with the Kurds in Syria, regionally. And as you know, very recently, Erdogan became so isolated after all these terrorist attacks and ostracization that he made up with Russia and with Israel. So it's clear that for him, this is a decisive moment. If you look at history, rulers who have been very strong but who undergo or suffer even a failed coup attempt cannot ever fully recover from the blow. So even though he will try to recoup and regather his forces and try to re-establish his full authority, the doubt has been sown in the minds of people that he is vulnerable. And to that extent, he is vulnerable both at the ballot box with voters, but more importantly with these kind of factions within the military that are simmering with discontent. I think he has also played to some extent a kind of politics within the military. He has tried to place officers who are pro-AKP and pro-Erdogan and are personally loyal to him. This has angered others. Then there is the Gulen movement, so-called Sufi movement, but is also involved in politics in high levels in Turkey, which is often alleged to be the the parallel structure, as Erdogan calls it, or a hidden hand. So it is like palace intrigue. If you go back to the Ottoman times, or to Mustafa Kemal's times, and now Erdogan, all of them are magnetic personalities, larger than life, but they also attract a lot of enemies, and sometimes their fate can be sealed by these kind of violent interventions.
Professor, this is Emily from the RT Moscow here in Moscow. I want to look at the overall picture now. With Turkey being a key member of NATO, how much will this attempted coup or overthrow of the government worry the Western allies and affect the relationship between Turkey and NATO?
As you know, Emily, both membership of the EU, which Turkey wants, has wanted in the past, and NATO have requirements for democratic transformation, including keeping the military under civilian control. So Erdogan used the Western alliance in the initial years to sideline the military in Turkish politics. It was an important card, the external, we are going to get into the EU and therefore we need to move against the military and stop this coup culture. That was his whole thing. And to some extent he had succeeded. But now the doubts are coming back, and Turkey's reliability as a NATO ally has anyway been under question because it played a very negative role in Syria and facilitated the rise of ISIS.
Oh, sorry. Why do you say that Ankara played a very negative role in the fight against ISIS? Can you explain that, please?
As your viewers know, over the years, Turkey has been like an open, haven for these Islamists and jihadists to pour into Syria and Iraq and to destabilize that country. Erdogan played a Sunni card and tried to antagonize Iran against the Shia bloc, against Russia, and in the end he burnt his hands, because now there are so many terrorist attacks within Turkey in important places. In fact, I have a feeling that this coup is also linked to the security crisis. The series of terrorist attacks that have happened and the signal inability of the Turkish government to stop these attacks that keep recurring have also angered some sections of the security establishment that believe that they can do a better job at it, and Erdogan is just playing politics with everything.
Well, there seems to be a lot of politics there, Sreeram. You talk about Erdogan, the battles against the Kurds in the south of the country. There's been a huge movement by the government against the Kurds. Of course, the Kurdish fighters, the PKK, they are on the front lines against ISIL and ISIS. So why is Erdogan targeting the PKK when they're fighting terrorists and the PKK is aligned with the United States of America? Now, look, Sreeram, talking about this, Turkey, a key member of NATO, do you think other NATO members are slightly worried by this attempted military coup? I mean, let's not get too excited here, but there are nuclear weapons in Turkey hosted under the guise of NATO. What do you think?
Absolutely. You're put the finger on the button, because what has happened is Turkey used to be considered a reliable ally, but now it's veering away. And some people may even believe, Erdogan's closest people who are into conspiracy theories believe that Gulen and this movement is being used to undermine him by the Americans, because Gulen is based in the US and he's got a lot of supporters, they say, in the bureaucracy, in the military, in the judiciary and so on. And they've been also trying to parallelly purge them alongside the military. So I think if you see, there is a view among some people that these kind of coups attempts may happen as a way of warning Erdogan that he cannot veer away too much from the Western agenda. So if you think there is so much, layers within layers, it is, as I said, like a Byzantine, Ottoman kind of politics going on out there.
All right, Dr. Sreeram Chaulia of the Jindal School of International Affairs. Many thanks for your time.
Thank
See you
you
soon.